You're listening to the Career Plus Life Catch-Up, episode number 96. Welcome to the Career Plus Life Catch-Up, a show anchored in reality to help you create a balanced life where you enjoy both your work and your life, because you don't have to choose. I'm your host, Cecile Ferry, a corporate executive turned coach and working mom. This is your place for insights, advice, and tools to optimize your career direction, balance, and confidence. I'm so glad you're here. Let's get into it. Hello, my beautiful people. I hope you are well. It's great to be back here. It has taken me a little bit of time. I apologize. I'm doing my best. It's been a really busy kind of middle of the year. So we've had winter school holidays here in Melbourne and things didn't go to plan because that is life. My daughter got sick, so there was a lot more juggling going on. And then now we are at term 3 in the year. Things are fully back on. I realized last night I have a lot on. I am working, I've got my business, I'm doing 2 different study courses right now, plus home life. And I'm preparing a trip that is happening in 2 weeks' time. So a lot going on. Nevertheless, I'm super pumped to be here. I have missed it. I have a really good episode for you in store. And I hope that you're doing well. I hope that you were able to listen to my last 2 episodes about the media review and that you've taken stock and maybe course corrected if need be, and that you have clarity into what you should focus on right now until the end of the year. And if you haven't yet, that's okay. Just go and do it now. It doesn't matter as long as you do it at some point and you know where you're going in terms of clarity. And that will give you great energy as well. Okay, so today we're talking about confidence at work. And I know pretty much every single one of you, especially if you're female, when you saw the title, you press play. Why? Because we all need that. So it's a big topic for many women. And actually, this topic was requested by one of my lovely clients. She's probably listening. I'm saying hello to her. And I think it's going to help everybody. So, of course, I could turn this into a 3-hour masterclass. There is so much to be said, and it's a topic I know very, very well. I have run workshops on it. I have coached on it over the years. So I know it really well, but I'm going to try to keep it not too long for you today so this podcast episode can go out. But before we get into today's episode, I wanted to point out that there is a great free resource on confidence on my website that any of you can access. So maybe you didn't know, but you can sign up for my newsletter on my website at careercatchup.com. And when you do, you get access to my free resources library. I've put together several guides, tools, and worksheets that you can use for your professional life. And one of them is called The Little Book of Confidence at Work. And to be honest, that's the one I've had the most feedback about. I think it's fantastic. So I would highly, highly recommend you go and sign up at careercatchup.com/join, or you can just find it on my website. And when you join in your welcome email, you will get the link and the password to access the library. And by the way, there are other guides in there that probably you find useful, like tools on time management, on productivity, on work-life balance, and so on. So go and download that guide on confidence because it has some of the principles more in detail, what I'm going to cover here today. And also it has some questioning techniques and things you can put into practice yourself to really embed those things, because I am all about being practical and down to earth. This isn't just a beautiful speech on confidence and then you like it, but then nothing changes in your life. That's not helpful. So go and check this out if you're not already a subscriber. So today here in this episode, I'm going to give you the best, most fundamental tools that you can implement at work to grow your confidence, to nurture your confidence, like wherever you are right now, because we're all on that spectrum at different various levels. And sometimes we might feel high, sometimes we might feel low, and that's completely normal. But basically, it's going to help every single one of you. And also, I'm going to address the underlying mental factors that impact your confidence. So I'm not going to be here and saying, hey, just fake it until you make it, do those things, kind of apply this band-aid, and there you go, you will suddenly feel confident. Because I'll be lying, because I'll be a pretty terrible coach doing that, and that is not my style. So I'm going to give you the full picture, and we're going to start there. We're going to start about the fundamental, and we're going to talk about the psychological side of things before I give you those tools. So hang in there for the second part of the podcast, because you need to have the right foundation, because confidence is a feeling. Where do feelings come from? They don't directly come from an action. So you're not going to feel confident by doing something. That doesn't work that way. You're going to feel confident because you are thinking something that induces a feeling of confidence. Your thoughts feel good. And sometimes the actions will create different thoughts, right? So actions have a play. But it's not simply doing something, like fake it until you make it. Like, I will say that this theory works, like there's a whole book called Presence by Amy Cuddy that you can go and read that talks about the posture. And there's a full science, and it's true. Like actually holding yourself a certain way will have an impact on the hormones in your body and on your nervous system, and that can induce different kind of thoughts. It is true. But I think this is just a tiny little piece. There's so much more that we can do with bringing more awareness about our mindsets and then putting in place quite, I would say, more radical actions than just a pose that then will create different thoughts. And those new thoughts will induce a new feeling of confidence. So that's what I have in store for you today. Let's get into it. Okay, first things first, I want to talk about predisposition, because we are not all equal. We're not born all equal on the confidence spectrum. This is my theory. I don't know, maybe some people have researched that. I don't know. But I firmly believe, because we are all different human beings. So some will have more confidence than others, kind of by predisposition, kind of by birth, by design, if you like. But that doesn't mean they are less performant or less than. We all have different qualities. So some people, they have more confidence. Others have more creativity. Other people have got more sensitivity, more intuition, like you name it. We all have different versions of some amazing, beautiful gifts, okay? So I'll bring here astrology that I know quite a lot about into this conversation. So based on the sign that you were born under, you can already tell if you are likely to be more confident than other people. So for instance, someone who is Aries or Sagittarius is naturally born more confident. That doesn't mean all Aries are confident, by the way. They could misuse it, but they have this energy in them. And also to some extent Scorpio and Leos. Some other signs like water signs can appear less confident. That doesn't mean they cannot be confident, far from it, we all can. But again, their makeup is a little different. They are a lot more emotion based. So the likes of Cancer, Pisces could be less confident because they might be more prone to self-doubt. Also Virgo, because Virgo can be prone to overthinking and perfectionism. So see, like, first of all, like the sign you're born under will have an influence on your natural confidence levels. But that's not to say it's set in stone and that's how you are, far from it. So first, this predisposition from birth. Secondly, the parental model. So again, here, we're not all equal. Those of us that have grown up with parents that are not very confident, that second guess themselves, especially I'm thinking mothers, or parents that are very anxious or worrisome by nature, that has an impact on you because this is what you absorbed and what lives in your subconscious as a model. And also, it could be the conditioning you receive from your parents in terms of their behaviors or what was said to you, from your parents or from like your school teachers, because at the time they're just the authority, right, when you grow up. So you may have had very highly critical parents. Maybe they meant it really well, but they never really praised you, or they really emphasize what was not working, what you were not good at. Like the number of clients that I've heard that have said to me that a teacher has said to them, you will never be good at anything, you will never be good at that, you're not going to be good at work later on. Like those blanket statements, unfortunately, get in there and they stay with us. So it may be part of your story. Think back to your childhood like that. You may have had also some parents that were really unpredictable, so you always had to walk on eggshell. That is not good for your confidence level. Or they may have been very risk averse or told you to be risk averse, to avoid failing at all costs, or they may have been overprotective, which means you haven't really been left unsupervised or by yourself, and so you haven't built that confidence muscle. And then it's very hard being out there as an adult taking risks because you were not encouraged to do that or allowed to do that as a child. So a lot also comes from your parental model. But even if you had parents that were not confident, that doesn't mean that's how you're going to be for life. It means that you likely inherited that conditioning. So you've got to repattern now, and you've got to be really clear and aware, and you have the brain for that now, way more than when you were 8 or 10 years old. Okay? And then I will say also social conditioning. I must mention it. That's going to be my little feminist minute of the day. But if you are a woman, unfortunately, over generations and generation, there is this unbalance in terms of the gender norms that we all grow up in, which say for women, in essence, not say, but amount to women staying small, to be seen but not heard, right? And this is coming from the patriarchy. So basically, women cannot be too confident because it would upset the patriarchy, that would threaten it. And we still see this living in the collective, right? We're in 2024, every International Women's Day, we're still talking about gender pay gap issues, we're talking about sexual harassment, and you see it as young as like girls that are pre-teens. Like if you look at the rate of anxiety, depression, self-harm, like this is much higher than boys, unfortunately, and this is also driven by social media. So young girls have issues of body image, and therefore that affects confidence from a very young age. I'm not going to get into the whole debate, but this is linked to using smartphones and the internet and social media, okay? So we live in that society, right? And you grew up through it, so I'm not saying it's not your fault, there's nothing you can do about it, but I'm helping you understand that you were not born this way. A lot of it is the product of your upbringing and the environment that you grew up in. Also, the environment in your family can have an impact. I mentioned your parents, but also the kind of people you grew up with. So for me, I grew up with 5 brothers. So how do you think my confidence levels are versus if I grew up with 5 sisters? Huh? So for me, I grew up in an environment with lots of testosterone, and men and boys that were really quite confident and clearly careless and sometimes reckless. So I grew up pretty tough, and I think that's a gift for me. I also have probably a birth child that is quite confident, but I haven't been battling strong confidence issues, and especially at work, because I have a father who's very confident in the workplace and a lot of brothers. So you may have been gifted that, or you may not. You may have had, as I said, anxious parents or more sisters, and then collectively that reinforces everything I've just spoken about. Okay, so we've just covered kind of the past here. Now I want to bring it into the present, and I have one more thing to discuss before we move on to the tools. And it is how your nervous system is feeling right now as an adult. And when I say right now, it's not just today, it's just in the last 3 to 6 months, okay? Because we have all the baggage that I've just covered from childhood, and that includes traumas, failures, setbacks. So all those events that have happened that have kind of dented our confidence. They've placed a dent. They live in our subconscious mind. We never think about it today as an adult, but I guarantee you they're there. And they would come up if you were being hypnotized, if you were doing some kind of subconscious therapy. They're all in there, whether we were criticized when we stood up in class or we did a drawing and everyone laughed at us. All those things still live on. Or, we failed a major exam. And sometimes we know they still live on because when we recall the memory, we still have an emotional charge with it. We might be crying, or it just makes us really nervous, for instance. Okay. So we can't delve into that, but just worth, thinking, reflecting, and journaling for yourself about those things, and bringing them to your awareness can be enough sometimes to dissolve them, depending how big a deal, how traumatic they were. But now fast forward to today. We have on top of that the ongoing stress of modern life and work, which leads the vast majority of us to be in some kind of nervous system dysregulation. And, I was a lot into that. I've done so much work into myself on that. So I can confidently talk about that. Not that I can go into detail, but what's happening is a lot of us, we are either in fight-flight mode or in freeze mode. I have spoken about that in past episodes. So when we are in fight-flight mode, we're seeing risk everywhere. So we are going to be afraid a lot more, and that is not good for confidence, because we're going to be like, oh my God, I can't do this, I can't do that, because we're going to perceive too many risks, we're not going to feel safe. On the other hand, when we are stuck in a freeze response where we've had basically too much stress that our body is going, and our mind is saying, we're just going to stay put, and we procrastinate a lot, we just don't have the drive to do things. There's a lot of inertia, a lot of fears that go with it. Okay, so when we're there, we are also not going to have the impetus we need to take confident action. So either of those states are bad for our confidence. And I could give you all the tools to be confident at work. But if you're stuck in a freeze response, or if you're in fight flight every day, like kind of a normal way of being, because you're dropping off the kids and then you're doing 3 other things, and then you got to rush in traffic, and then someone calls you, or you always interrupted, or like you haven't slept very well for a long time and you don't have time to eat properly. Like I could go on and on. All those things impact your nervous system, so if it's healthy and regulated, because if it's regulated, you have peace. Simple as that. You don't get triggered easily, like you recover quite fast from any emotional upset. It's in a very healthy place where you've got very balanced emotion and a lot of calm. Okay, and that's rare these days, and it's very difficult with the lifestyle that we have and with technology that's constantly at us. So that balance is important, because if you're in fight and flight or in freeze, like in neither of these states will give you the safety, the mental safety to work on your confidence. They will actually, if you start implementing those things that I'm going to suggest you, that will exacerbate your nervous system dysregulation, because it's going to flash at you like, oh my God, not safe. And you're going to sleep less and you're going to pump more adrenaline into your body. So I don't want that for you. No. So maybe that's where you're at, and that's completely fine. And you need to start there. Is if you realize you're a lot in fight or flight, don't worry about growing your confidence at work right now. Worry about restoring that nervous system balance to put in a place there is less fight and flight, and you're more often in the middle. Okay. And if you're in freeze a lot and you feel like, everything seems scary, well, you need to work on allowing yourself to relax and to move again, basically. So this takes work, okay, usually, but it can absolutely be worked on, usually through lifestyle changes, through physical health changes and mental health changes. You need to remove the stresses, and you need to put supportive actions in place for your well-being, okay? So you can't grow confidence if the ground underneath is not fertile. If the ground is overstressed and overtensed and overstimulated, We can't add to it. We cannot. That is a prerequisite. Okay, so I really wanted to cover that here. Now we're going to get into more confidence tools. Okay, I have 4 tools for you, and I recommend you practice each in just any given order. You take your time. You may want to take some notes. I will get into some details. Then the first one is to remove overthinking, because the overthinking is this big, blurb of stuff there, and it's very mental, right? That is between you and confidence. So we need to remove that, and then we're going to do other things, but it starts there. And the overthinking comes from your friend, the inner critic. So I'm going to talk about that today, but go back and listen to episode number 4 on the inner critic, because that works in tandem with your confidence. What is killing your confidence usually is listening to your inner critic. Okay, but in terms of very concrete tools here, you remove the overthinking that blocks confidence. You do that by asking questions for clarity. See, because if you don't have all the information, you don't have the clarity, you're going to start just trying to fill the blanks, and the inner critic's going to come on top of it, and that is a recipe for disaster. So ask, and it's completely normal, and it's probably actually onto the other person that should have made it clear. So it doesn't matter what level you're at, you ask, you clarify, okay? So you don't have to overthink it. You do not ruminate over a situation. So if something happened, your mind is going to start making stories, making meaning and fears and analyzing it. So you either tell your mind, okay, we're going to deal with this. Is there a tangible thing I need to address here? And how do I do it? And you take some action so that moves on and you stop ruminating. Or you go, I'm just purely ruminating here and I'm going to stop doing it. You file it in your head. You really need to be on top of yourself, because rumination is just chewing at your confidence and achieves nothing. So you got to kill it. And then you need to also to not engage in chit-chat that feeds that overthinking. So what will you interact with? Who will you hang out with at work? Are they, chit-chatting and kind of making stuff up around what's happening? And are they commenting? Because you basically get the overthinking of other people as you do that. Not good for you. And finally, the last example that I want to use under removing overthinking is when you send emails. This was a technique that was taught to me many years ago by my coach, first coach that I used, and she called it the ship it method. And to this day, I still use it. So what happens is, especially women will be writing an email at work, and we're going to be rereading it, and then when we're supposed to send it, we are second guessing ourselves. Is this right? Should I send it? All of that. That is massive overthinking. So she told me that method of shipping it. So once you're done, you reread it once and you just hit send, ship it. And I really, really encourage you to implement that in your day-to-day when you find yourself sitting there overthinking. Even if, maybe there's something in the email that's not quite right. You read it once and then you ship it, because usually all that extra time you spend stewing on it amounts to nothing. If there's ever anything in that, you can always correct afterwards. But don't sit in that in between where you're chewing on it, because that is really what we want to squash for your confidence. So start shipping things a lot more. You do them, off you go. And it might be the same in other parts of your life when you're thinking, oh, should I do this? Should I do that? Let's just ship it. All the things, an email isn't like you're not signing for a house. I wouldn't recommend you do that. But things like that, an email at work, you just ship it. Number 2 is to use your strength. So for that, I'm going to send you back to episode number 3 that was all about knowing and using your strength, because research proves it. When you use your strength at work or in life, you are more confident and you're more motivated and you're happier, by the way. So triple bonus there. So you need to know your strength, and I'll talk you through in that episode how to do that. If you work with me, you will have them. Always go back to them. And you need to play to them. You need to be very focused on bringing them to life and embedding them in your work. It doesn't happen magically. Like, this is something you need to be quite strategic and intentional about. I recommend you take your strength, you take your top 5, and you focus on one at a time for an entire week or an entire month. But you're conscious every day. How can I be more of that? How can I bring more of that? I give you an example. My strength are honesty. My top one's honesty, judgment, appreciation of excellence and beauty. So if I want to be confident as a coach, I've got to be honest, and I'll bring that every day. And at times I'll be so honest with clients that I will say that I can't help them, or I'm not the right person for them. Or I'm going to have these sometimes, tough love talk with my clients. I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to shower them with protection. I'm going to tell them what I see, because that's how I can be the best coach. And then the result happen, and I yield that confidence as a result. Or my judgment, like if I use my judgment, I cannot be wrong, right? As a coach, I have that confidence. Or that appreciation of excellence and beauty. So I really focus on what will be an excellent outcome, how to make my clients' life as amazing as possible. And that just helps me becoming more and more confident as a coach. Or appreciation of beauty. I work in a beautiful office environment. It's very important to me. I feel way more confident in the beautiful office than if I was, working somewhere half dark that didn't feel good to me, for instance. So see, I'm very clear what are my top strengths, and I'm playing to them. I'm using them, living and breathing them every day in my job. It's much easier when it's your own business. In a job that you've taken, and that's why I do the work with my client. We look at the strength ahead of time before taking a job to know if there's a good fit. But even if it's not that obvious, you can inject some of that, and you have to ask yourself how. How can I be more, whatever, if your strength is bravery, how can I be more brave in my job this week? How can I be more honest? How can I, if humor is your strength, how can I bring more humor into what I do? So that you all have. It's just different strength. So use your own and inject them every single week. And then number 3 in terms of tools is what I call take up your space. So first tool, we remove the overthinking. Then we know where our strengths are, and then we're going to start taking up space. So that's when we need to stop shrinking, which might be our normal conditioning. And again, the inner critic will tell you to shrink, because shrinking equals safety. No, not here. If you want to be more confident, it's an expansion from where you are. So very concrete actions for you. Raise your hand to lead something. And when I say to lead, I mean being front facing. Sometimes that can mean in the spotlight. Because we have a tendency of raising our hand or doing work when we can be associated with the pack, or we can be the person behind that does all the work, but we're not going to be presenting, or we're not going to be the front-facing person, because again, this mitigates the risk. This is more comfortable for us. So what I'm saying here is actually don't do that. Don't hide behind other people. Be like, yep. I will do this. Raise your hand. Of course, be realistic. Don't do that if you don't know at all how to do it. But chances are you already know a lot, right? So just start taking up your space, raising your hand. Not every time, just once. And then do it. And then see how much more confident you are because you've done it. And then do it again. Second thing that I do over and over at work over the years. Ask question at every key meeting. Talk, basically. Comment. Participate. Be an active person in there. you're probably going to be conditioned to stay there and stay small and be quiet. And that's what safety means to you. But I'm saying get into the habit of participating, because then that is just becomes second nature. I participate pretty much in every meeting and I don't care. So you have to master your inner critic there, because the inner critic is going to go, oh, careful, don't say this, you're going to look ridiculous, which is wrong anyway. So my inner critic doesn't even pop up for me anymore. Never does. I'm very confident presenting and all of that. I just get in there, it's like I get in the seat and I go on and talk. And I can do public speaking that way as well. This didn't happen overnight, but it happened because I did it more and more. It's practice. The more you talk, the more your brain is going to learn that it's safe to talk, that it's safe to comment or ask a question. I think questions can be sometimes more intimidating for us women, because we might feel like we look like we don't know, which makes us look weak. But so maybe it might be more you're adding a build to something. You're commenting, you're saying, hey, this makes me think of this, and we can see this in this other part. So I want you to think that you don't need to be an expert, but you need to be a contributor. So a contributor is not silent. You are not going to be confident if you're silent. So you need to express yourself, and you need to express your thoughts, and you need to share your thinking. So that's what I want you to do more of. Start small, but start doing it. So do it in a smaller team environment, a team of 3-4 people, and talk every time. And then do it with a slightly bigger group and a bigger group. And for me, you can't shut me up nearly at every meeting, but no one really cares. And that's the thing. You think people are going to be thinking, oh, why is she talking? No, they're only focusing on themselves anyway. So meanwhile, you take up space, and that's what I want you to do. And finally, under take up your space, I want you to watch your language. That is a huge one. And if you do anything at all from today, do that. I'm going to give you a list of words that you need to remove from your vocabulary. And unfortunately, women tend to use those because the collective, female collective especially, is using them as a way to feel safe. So you may want to pause the podcast after this and write them down. Here are the words to never use ever again at work. Hoping. I'm hoping. Nobody's hoping. We know, we think, we believe, we try, we don't hope. Sorry is a big one. Only say sorry if you really, really have something to apologize for. Sorry or apologies. We apologize for everything, and we shouldn't. So I just remove that from all my email and my conversation. I'm never sorry unless I have pushed somebody or I have hurt them. Otherwise, so at work, chances that you're sorry are pretty limited. So no more sorry. No more trying. Hoping, trying. The word just. I'm just doing this. I'm just popping here. I'm just asking. Just. No. Hello. I would like to know what's happening with this. The words not sure. I'm not sure. Or you can, if you say I'm not sure, follow it by something that's more uplifting, because basically all of those words will taint your energy. It will give you low vibes. I'm not sure. If you just go, I'm not sure, But if you say, I'm not sure, but let me find out. I'm not sure, but I'm going to ask this person. Then see, the energy is very different. Kind of. One to remove as well. We don't just approximate things, because that is where there is room, right, for the overthinking. Maybe, especially if we use maybe to just pass on a message that we're not really confident about, let's remove the maybe. Don't mind, I don't mind, like this is not having a position. Desperate, don't use the word desperate. Wondering is a big one, because we feel really comfortable saying, hey, I'm just wondering. None of that. Difficult is a word as well that implies that, we don't really know what we're doing. Don't know, it's like not sure. Don't just say, I don't know, I will find out. Worried, I'm worried. Don't use that. Just stick to the fact. Or the word even just something. Oh, is it, I would like to do something there. Like, just say what it is. Or the words, should I? Like this imply, I'm not sure. Or the words struggle or finally, I had no luck. I had no luck doing that. So you may want to pause play, re-listen to these words. I'm not going to repeat them, but they will undermine your confidence. It's really about impacting your mental state and your mental thoughts. And your language is huge in that. And these are the ones I could think of, but there might be others. And just watch how many women do that around, and we're not helping anyone, because then we keep hearing them and we keep using them because the neural pathways is very well trained in our mind to say, sorry, I'm wondering, should I? Make a radical decision to stop using those words and watch what happens for you on your confidence levels. Okay, I'm going to go to the fourth tool, and I could go on, but my guide on my library will be way more detailed. I really encourage you to do that. But the fourth one I'm going to talk about quickly is you have to push yourself. So do that after you've done the others, right? It's kind of in order, because once you quite feel good now and today, like if you push yourself, by trying new things, by stretching yourself, by taking risk, or taking like some of those dares, like, the things that right now feel scary for you. Obviously nothing dangerous. That's what I'm not saying that. But when you can see a challenge and you don't feel like doing it and it feels a bit icky, but a little exciting as well, right? Potentially. Not like something that feels really awful, poisonous and trapping, okay? I'm not talking about that kind of fear, but I feel uncomfortable doing that. If you actually push yourself outside of that comfort zone, if you get into the discomfort zone, which is another episode I've done, and if you do it, you are going to yield more confidence. So this is how you build units of confidence in you. Once, you've done all those things I talk about, which give you confidence day to day, then you're going to take it up a notch. And you're going to take on a new challenge, a new project. And the principle is feel the fear and do it anyway. We should all do this in our lives, but it's very rare. And like me included, myself included, I don't do that very often, but I remind myself at times to do that. And by the way, men do this all the time, on the other hand. And it's what gives them confidence. They're constantly taking risk when, they have no clue what they're doing. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't have all the qualifications. They're applying for the jobs, So what can we learn from them there? Because they're just pushing themselves, because also they may have a different predisposition. Like they're going after what they want. They are the hunters, right? So that is something that doesn't come as naturally to a lot of us in our feminine energy, but that's when we need to have a bit more yang, a bit more masculine energy into us, and be a little bit more Aries about things, a little bit more the ram, the boom, like let's just go and see what happens. And how we do that is we decide, we set ourselves a task and we do it. And that will not feel good. That will not feel comfortable. Our brain will tell us to do anything but that in the moment, but we can do it. And so we have to push ourselves, we have to do it, and then we'll see that our fears were just that. And then we'll see that we're more capable than what we think. And then we're going to bank all that confidence and it's going to feel great. And that's what we're supposed to do as human beings. But the world that we live in doesn't encourage any of that. It's encouraging you to stay at home watching television, eating cookies or donuts on the couch. Because that sells a lot more product than you pushing yourself that way. So do that, and always keep in mind the affirmation that I use when I do that is I will be okay no matter what. Because look at your life, you've always been okay afterwards. So the only outcome is success or learning. It won't be like you're not going to die unless you really take a crazy day challenge, which I didn't encourage you to do right here. But I give you examples like when I launched my podcast, I was really pushing myself and I had so much confidence from it. Or when I was doing a lot of videos online on my Facebook group in the past couple of years, did it feel good? Oh, hell no. But I kept doing it. And I feel so much confidence. And that translated directly into how I present at work, for instance. So it doesn't come easily and freely and cheaply, confidence, to be honest, because often you have to go outside your comfort zone. But I've given you some tools that will give you shortcuts that are reasonably easy to implement in terms of action. But the fourth one, push yourself, pushes the envelope, as I might say. It's harder, but this is like your advanced level once you've done the others. All right, my friends, I hope you have enjoyed this episode where I attempted to give you the best that I know about confidence at work, which, by the way, will be the same in your life, but I used it specifically for work so that you can implement that. As I say, go and get the workbook from my free library at careercatchup.com/join. Add that with it, implement what I've said. I guarantee you that your confidence level will go up and up from there. So just to recap, yes, there is a predisposition, but you can change it. It doesn't determine things for you. You can first and foremost look at the health of your nervous system and whether you need to make some changes there first so that it is regulated, because no point pushing yourself if you're already every day feeling anxious, feeling stressed, and not having that safe, calm place in your mind. And then the tools that I give you, which are to squash the overthinking, to leverage your strength and use them, to take up more space, to take space simply, and then to push yourself. And I want to finish on that, and I want to say, don't be bold mandatorily. Only a couple of you that would apply, and I would say, based on who you are, go out there, be bold. No, but it really is more about being more you and expressing yourself and the true version of yourself. So that's going to look very different. I've given you basic principle, take up your space, but it might be very different for you based on where you're at and the job that you do and the personality that you have. Not saying to be confident, you need to be a public speaker in front of 200 people. Far from it. But you need to express yourself and you need to let the world see that somehow. And really, confidence in a nutshell is about removing the barriers in your mind that are fictional. They're not really tangible, but they feel very real to you every day. And they tend to be quite rehearsed and practiced over and over in your mind. Therefore, they tend to become a deeply ingrained belief. So that's where you need to disrupt things mentally, and you need to push yourself, and you need to win over your mind, because your mind is scared, it's usually not confident, and it is misguided. So in order to be more confident, you need to win over your mind, and you need to manage your thoughts, and you need to basically rewire yourself. And that comes gradually, but that's the recipe. And you will see, the beauty of that is you never go backwards. So every single win, it's like a credit in the bank of confidence. So that's my wish for you. If you use any of the tools I've shared today, like if you pay attention to those words, if you just speak at every meeting, like you watch, this will change the programming in your mind. And this will in turn create different thoughts, different feelings, and different actions. So I'm going to love you and leave you all and wishing you massive gains in confidence. Please let me know feedback if this episode resonated. Please share in the comment, like it, write it, or just reach out to me. I would love to hear. Take care, everyone. Have a beautiful rest of the week and month, and I will speak with you soon. Bye. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to find out more information, you can visit my website at careercatchup.com. There you will find blog articles, free resources, a self-study course for your career direction, and ways to work with me. It's at careercatchup.com. I hope to continue to connect with you and support you. Talk to you soon.